Good morning, good morning. Welcome to King's Court. I'm Rashid Nori. And I wanted to address a few things with us as a people in reference to our relations between men and women. More specifically, black men and women. Now, I really hate to use that word because it really is not indicative to us as a people, because neither of us are black nor are they white. When God said, I have named you human, that hue, that spectrum of colors, there is neither white nor black. So please be mindful of that. You're not black and they're not white. But to continue on, in this relations between man and woman, there is neither anarchy nor dichotomy. And in that, we must understand that men are not the controllers and women are not property. So, with that said, men as kings are to bring forth peace, prosperity in the community, and upliftment in the hearts, the minds, and the spirit of each individual that encompasses them. So with that being, we have to begin starting with treasuring life. See, we have gotten to the point where we become animalistic. We have not designed our minds and our hearts and our spirits to believe that we are human with care for one another, love for one another. I mean, this starts with self first, but it must persevere throughout. We can't actually continue to manipulate in this world or manifest in this world or teach in this world without those two things. And it's more, but those are the most important. You see how our family unit are disunited. Verily, a mother and child should be the closest in the family. A father and child should be the most respected in the family. We have neither of this today. Women and their daughters are disunited. There is no love between them like it should be. Granted, it's sad enough that it takes for the mother to fall to a demise for her daughter to actually show factual love. This is a sad state. Young boys, lose the respect of the mother because she now has to take on the position of a father. And it's not her place. So he loses his respect for her and trying to find a role model for him. And he never will connect with him because it's not that chain that he needs the understanding of from his seed, his father. So with that being, man, we got to start learning to treasure life. In that, we must learn to respect the family. We must learn to respect the family unit, the nucleus, the circumference of that which makes whole. Fathers, men, kings, stand firm in your families. Women, mothers, queens, stop pushing away and being competitive with that king, that man, that father. The important factor is the children that derive from the love that you once had or the passion that you once had. We have to stop thinking with our lower common desires. We have to start using our intellect. Wake up, wake up, wake up. This is the importance. Stop being animalistic. Treasure life. Respect your own and nurture your children with the true love from both parties. Fathers, stand up. We are causing the destruction of our children by not being in their lives. I don't care what you have to do. Stand up. Be a man. Make manifest your right to raise your children in goodness, with honesty, truth, and a just heart. There should be no such thing as alpha, mega, none of these so-called derogatory statements that we have devised to identify types of men. Granted, there's a position in everybody's life, and he'll hold a position as according to the way he was created, but yet and still, it's shameful that I have to consider myself a omega man, a man who has balance for you to understand the differences of men. See, we have to grasp onto things that really don't make a difference, just to have some understanding that is right before your face. I don't want to have to call my brother a beta because he has compassion more than me for the actions of a woman. Because he has compassion more than me for the actions of society. Because he has compassion and honor more than me for that which is going on in his very life. See, we all view things differently because we were all raised differently. But it has to come back to one manner of raising, one manner of being, one manner of being in existence with family, the full circumference. Having both mother and father's input into your life because that child is a part of both. He or she needs both intellects to be able to be full and complete within themselves. Other than that, you see what's going on. Our children are lost. Young men and women are lost. They're trying to find themselves in the worst way possible. And they're losing because the slave master, let me say that again. I said it yesterday. The slave master has duped us. Got a stranglehold on our children. We see it, but we too foolish-minded to step up and change their lives. No matter what, God said that you are now in control of that which I have gifted you with, and that's your children. You are in right by God to leave them. So it was a statement I grew up on. That statement being, it takes a nation to raise a single child. So when mother's telling you, don't you say nothing to my child. Well, your child is in our community. That child is responsible. We are responsible for that child in that community. When he's in your home and she's in your home, you're responsible for him. But when they're in the community, we are responsible for them. This is a given fact. There's no more I. As we, as a people, are to raise every child. See, there was a time of old, and I don't know if any of y'all ever seen Roots, but the child at a certain age would be passed on from the mother to the father. And the father would raise him until he passed it on to the hierarchy in the community, the elders, who would teach them individually about certain aspects of life. This is how it's supposed to be. So in this life, we have the mother who will raise them up in nurturing and love and being able to respect themselves. And then the father teaches them how to give that respect, how to give that love, how to persevere in knowledge. And then we pass them on to the grandparents, the aunts and uncles. See, those experiences are important. We have forgotten that. Granted, some aunts and uncles are a little sick. So, all right, yes, beware of that. But I'm not saying that You supposed to just give your children up. No. You still have to manifest your cognizance of what's right and what's wrong for them. Don't just throw them out there in the world, man. This is insanity. You see what we have today. Insane children who are running around murdering one another without a whim. This is a sickness. And it's not the godlike beings that we are. It's animalistic. Going on to the next phase of this conversation. This content is deep. So I want to bring forth the rights of that which we have lost. Love of family and the commandments. Love of family and the commandments of family. See, there's not one thing in this world that we're not commanded to uphold. So love of family, it must stand strong. If you don't love your family, if you don't go out and show that your family is stern, that your family is good, that your family raised a good person, you have failed them. Honor of your family must be projected. I stand strong when I hear the Marshall name being recognized. Because truly, it is important for that seed to come up understanding that you are honored. Trust and believe. There wasn't a time in my life that I didn't think about everything that I was taught. And I tried to act in accordance to it. But because my dad wasn't around, I didn't have that strong force to say, boy. So I had to check myself at one point or another. I made mistakes, but I still worked within the boundaries of that teaching that my mother and father once gave me. See, my father gave me certain lessons at a young age that I never forgot. And my mother reiterated them. See, because it's a force of two. See, a father gives the ground and the mother still foundation. She instills the foundation. He gives the ground, she instills the foundation. Simple. So the love of family is most important. The respect of family is most important. I mean, all of it is most important. I'm just reiterating the infusing facts. We have to give ground to this idea that family is first. Then your neighbors. Then the community. Hence the reason why I'm doing this today. The community at large is sick. There's a lot of us, man, that's trying to work within to maybe cure the ills that slavehood has injected into us for far too long. We have been sleeping giants for far too long. It's now time to wake up, wake up, wake up. So in those commandments of that family love, that love of family, those commandments are standing true even if you don't want to accept them. And the first is respect God. I'm not going to make this religious, but the fact of the matter is God is existing in everyday life, no matter what you say, no matter what you do or how you feel, or even what you think. So we must always keep God in the forefront of our lives and put the creation behind us, because today we're working backwards. God is in back of us and we put the creation before us. This is an absurdity, man. We put the creation first, and that's insane. Because the thing of the matter is, we know innately that God exists and that there is not no other God but Him. There's only one. And I said that to say this. When calamity befalls you, the first thing that you say is, "Oh my God, please help me, God." And then when it's all over with, you call on those who you've been taught to worship. So innately, you already know. Your soul is already implanted with this understanding that there is a God that exists, and he is deserving of all praise, thanks, and worship. Now I'm going to leave off from that. But the family unit, the family love, and the commandments of your family must stand true. Your father laid down laws, your mother laid down laws, and you need to adhere to them in order to correct yourself when you go out into the community and cohabitate with the rest. But see, I in the beginning of this, I said that there is a unified understanding in all of the families. See, because the king, the one who was the hierarchy, was the one who would lay down the foundation. And that first foundation is the love of family. So when you look at your brother, man, or your sister, you see that family in her face. Her eyes are eyes that you have. Her speech is the speech that you have. Her ability to smell, her ability to hear, so forth and so on. We all have similarities in all of our makeup. What makes you any different than me? The only difference is my DNA, my fingerprint. They're the only differences that any human being in this world has. That's the significance of each individual. And the reason why each individual is dealt with differently according to God's will. No one man dies exactly the same. No one woman will die exactly the same. We have to start paying attention with our intellect. See, God said that I've created you with intellect so that you know. So there's no excuses for you not having understanding, because clearly you have been given intellect so that you know. There will be no fooling God on the last days. There will be no fooling him. You can sick and jive all you want in this life, but in the hereafter, there will be no fooling the one who created you. He knows you best. He knows you. He's so close to you than the blood that flows through your veins. But I'm not going to continue in that mode. That will be a conversation for another day. So, ongoing with the understanding of the third factor in this content. Placing God first over everything else, including yourself. See, as a Christian and now as a Muslim, I understand why God said, speak the truth, even if it's against yourself. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to be open and honest about everything and not be judged. It's a beautiful thing. But the hardship is that most mankind will judge. It's sad, but yet and still it's true. But we got to get around being judgmental of one another. We got to get around it. Point being, judgment is in the hands of God alone. So you can use a criterion that is given to judge, but yet and still, judgment is in the hands of the one who created all that exists. So on that day, your judgment will be hearty for judging others. I know. I've learned this in my time. Granted, I used to be, a so-called boss figure in the streets, but I found out fast that there's always somebody bigger and badder than you. And we all know and understand that God is bigger and badder than all of us. So we have to learn to put God first. Stop putting the creation before us and putting God behind us, and reverse that situation. Put God in front of you and put the creation behind you. See, it's good to have hindsight of the things in creation, but you got to know and understand that all knowledge of it comes from God. Everything that we witness, everything that we experience comes from God. He put you on a path for you to go through it. He set the moment when you would acknowledge it to be so. He set the moment for clarity to hit heart. You can't get around it. You can't. There's no shaking the facts that God exists. That light bulb that turns on, man, you just cannot ignore it. You can, but it won't matter. Because the existence of what happened, the experience of what had been, will not be going away. It's there and it will stay. And it will beat you upside your head until you recognize it and still adhere to it. So you have to start learning how to accept it and become better. See, because every experience that you have in life, man, is just for that, for you to become better. You have three aspects of that. The first is the experience of your mother and father, your brothers and sisters, and then the community. The second being your personal experiences, things that you go through, moments that you recognize and you learn from. And then the last being dating, experiences with someone you claim to love or have emotions for and feelings for, sexual or physical. Or mental, sexual or mental. So these three experiences, man, they are incumbent on how you will become as an individual in later days, like me in my 53 years of today. I took every single moment and I grasped hold of it and I kept it. You can't forget your past. You can't throw it away. That's stupid. Because then you're going to walk through life whimsically and foolishly, making mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake until you die. You have to at one point come to an understanding that you have to start using your intellect so that you know not to keep making the same mistakes. You shouldn't have to get bodied to remember, wow, I should have did this. I should have done that. I should have acted this way. I should have thought this way. I should have been, why wait? You have been given intellect so that you know. On to the fourth aspect of this content. Signifying and conjuring our true selves. That's a bit deep. I might have to do a part 2 on that one alone. Signifying and conjuring up your true self. In that, we have to be somewhat emotional. Men, women, we have to be somewhat emotional because it takes a bit to be able to delve into yourself, like conjuring up who you are. And with that, I've learned that every single day, you must take into account every single moment. Remembering, like I said, you can't just forget and throw things away of the past. You have to remember your experiences and contemplate. Contemplate every single thing in your life. It's important. You can't rightly move forward in a straight path if you are confusingly moving through life. You have to learn how to set direction straight on a straight and narrow path. One way to do that is taking muhasabah, what we see in Islam. Taking into account your soul by the rectification of God's rights. I learned to understand that you truly don't be able to know love until you know the love of God. You truly will not be able to respect love until you understand the respect of God's love. I'm trying not to make this religious, but the fact of the matter is, these are things that have been forgotten because the slave masters removed it from us. Remember that one word in that statement, slave master. He has mastered the idealization of manipulation of your mind, your body, and your soul. So it's now time for us to get a hold of that and uplift ourselves to being true kings and queens. Hence the title of this King's Court, where queens are raised and kings are born. Wake up, wake up, wake up. You are sleeping giants. Stop falling to the wayside of the slave masters. Become masters of yourself. And if I can help it, I truly will give you the best of me, because I truly feel today I am King Master. So, in conjuring up the true self, you have to start learning about other people. And I said that to say this. There are people in my life that I've learned about. I mean, people that I've sat down with and really had conversations with. It started when I was probably 15 years old. 15 or 16. And I met these two, they were dykes. And they gave me insight to how to treat a woman, granted, sexually. But in that, it had to start with mentally being able to connect with that woman. And then physically being able to please her in every way possible. So men, stop thinking that it's just about you getting your jollies. No, you have to please that woman to the utmost. I'm talking about mentally, spiritually, and then physically. Because then and then only will she be able to stand and stick and stay. Stand for you, stick with you, and stay by your side. Let me say that again. Stand with you, stick to you, and stay by your side. So, on to the fifth aspect of this content. Noting how we arrive and where we became on this path of destruction. We have to, by all means, understand how the slave master put us on this destructive path, this destructive path. And the fact of the matter is, it started with us first having our faith being removed from us. See, a lot of people don't get it, and I don't get it either, why so many things in this world have been put before us and we just ignore them. We've had roots by a man called Alex Haley, who was a staunch Christian, mind you. And he brought forth this understanding of our history before and after our slavehood. We were Muslim, we were brought here. We weren't Christian. Christianity was something that was forced on us by the slave master. That became the very first aspect of the mastering of our slavehood. He took away our faith. Then he took away our dignity by forcing us into situations where we would be, because of our religion, we were very clean people. Very, very clean. Physically clean, mentally clean, and spiritually clean. We had a dignity about us. We had a perseverance about us that stood out more than anything else. We had a respect for God more than anything else. This is the reason why we are noted as the peacemakers. Throughout time, we have been noted as the peacemakers. Granted, our strength is strong. We are dominant people, but we are the peacemakers. See, it's only by us. It is only by us that the peace of the world can be. This is the reason why God has always let it be that we are the majority. not the minority. Because we are the peacemakers. If you ever paid attention to it, whenever any people come into our midst, they become enlightened. They become part of our community. They coexist within our realms. They begin to dress like us, talk like us, want to be around us. Because, man, we are good people innately. We're created this way. All of mankind really is. But you just have a people who are just so hateful of themselves because of the curse that God had placed upon their father. And they don't understand themselves yet. But inshallah, I will acknowledge the importances of that as well. Because since Abraham had went to the mount to bring them forth to be civilized by God, by God's right, by God's truth, by God's will, by God's command, and things have been lost. But again, the human family is important. So right now I'm just talking to us. But hopefully there will be them who will understand and get a hold of it as well, because we as a human family, and we got to stop with this division. God said, whoever separates in my faith, in my way, will find himself in a grievous torment. So we got to stop this madness of human separation in belief, actions, and deeds, so forth and so on. But back to the fact of the matter, this path that we arrive in life, it has moments of clarity, moments of confusion, moments of, I'm going to do better. But we have to first begin to note to ourselves our capabilities in doing so. We have to note within ourselves our capabilities to do so. I'll say this. When you come to a point in your life where you realize, I made a lot of mistakes and I need to change, I need to make some notions, I need to start fixating myself to do better, do just that. Because that moment is God saying to you, I'm opening up this door so that you can begin to walk straight. Trust me on that one. It's God saying to you, I'm opening up this door for you to begin to walk straight with your intellect. So walk through that door. It's another thing that I noticed too. There's a teaching in all religions actually. God intends good for the believer. I bear witness to that. As I said, I came from a most horrendous way of life. And look at me now. I'm an owner. I'm an operator. I'm a shot caller in so many ways and shapes and forms. I don't always do the right thing. I'm not perfect. I ain't saying that I'm great. But I do recognize those things, and I call myself to account for them. Some people just are not forgiving. But you have to first learn to forgive yourself in order for others to begin to forgive you. Mistakes are made in life, but it's a matter of what you do after making that mistake. That's what matters. Not to continue on down the same downtrodden path of mistake after mistake after mistake, but to correct the mistakes so that you can be better in the mistakes that you make after. See, you're going to continue to make mistakes, but you have to learn from those mistakes and do better. See, it's called repentance. It's called repentance. See, it's the doing of an action that you regret doing, and then you ask that you be forgiven for it, or you try to find forgiveness in it, and then you do better with it. You don't repeat it. Even if you repeat it, you must continue to strive to do better in it. Don't just let it overtake you. You have to try to do better. And in closing, this last and final factor of this content, admission to ourselves of destruction. See, when we fall into that moment of truth, when you come to realize you have been making the greatest mistake in your life that may cost you for the rest of your life. There's 3 that I recognize in my life. One is having children at a young age, but there was a turnaround to that because they saved my life. My children made me start thinking positively, start thinking about them first. If I was to do this, it would take me away from them. Then there was that moment of, man, my mother and father taught me better than this. I got to do something different. And then there was, some of the elders in the neighborhood, man, taught me a little bit better than this, man. I got to start doing better. So it's, those recollective moments, man, you got to take account. You have to take account of yourself. That admission is important. You can't foolishly just keep running around whimsical, confused, unapologetic. I mean, granted, there's some people that don't deserve apologies. But even in that, man, listen, it's empowering to apologize even if you're wrong. Even if you're right. It's empowering. Man, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to say to yourself, man, I'm better than that. I'm going to give that to you. Okay, I apologize because I know you feel some kind of way about what I said, even if it was the right thing. Because I do know that reality bites. The truth hurts. But sometimes it's the way you present it. You have to try to be mindful of the feelings of other people. You can't just always just want to be right. And that's one of my downfalls. I can admit that, yes. Sometimes when I'm talking to a sister or I'm talking to a younger person, I don't always see things the way they see it. I want them to see it the way I see it. And that's not always good. It's good to an extent, but it's not always the best means. So you have to start trying to take into account and recognize your own deficiencies and correct them. Right, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm perfect. No, I'm never going to do that. Like I said, I tell on myself as it is commanded. Allah tells us in Islam, speak the truth even if it's against yourself. He says it also in Christianity and Judaism before that. Speak the truth even if it's against yourself. But they don't teach this in other places. You only get this in Islam because it's the truth. I'm not talking about just Islam. I'm talking about just that statement itself. Speak the truth even if it's against yourself. Honesty is the best policy. There's no other way to be in this world without having some truth and straightforwardness with you. Because if you're sidewinding, then the devil is the one who is the leading hand. Stop sidewinding, people. Be honest and true. The truth will set you free. And I'll bear witness to that, man. I bear witness to that one. So in closing, always manifest the mind of a king. Always manifest the minds of a queen. Think first with your heart, your soul, and your intellect. Because those things are the ones that guide you best. You know, sometimes when you go through something and the first instinct, the first thought, it's the best thought. It's the best instinct. It's the best guidance. You may deviate from it because Your lower conscious desires may act, or your freakiness or your feelings and things of that sort may respond. But you always must go with the first innate feeling. It's the truth. That's the God consciousness in you. So with that, I mean, share, like, whatever the case may be in this situation. Love it. Send it off to other people. Because we need to understand. Wake up, wake up, wake up, my sleeping giants. This is your man, Rashid Nori. I salute you. All love and respect. Be great in this world. Be kings and queens. Always be true to yourself. Raise your children right. And be great in your communities. My love. Peace.